Nellie's fingers froze against warm skin. Her eyes, still heavy with sleep, blinked rapidly, trying to make sense of the image before her. It was a dragon. A massive, snarling beast inked in deep indigo and black, its scales detailed with terrifying precision, coiling all the way from the man's lower back up to his broad shoulder blade. She pulled her hand back as if she had touched a hot stove. Jun-ho didn't have tattoos. He hated needles. He called body art unprofessional and trashy. He had skin as clear and unblemished as the marble floors of his office lobby. Yet here he was, sleeping on his stomach in the tangled sheets of his penthouse master bedroom, breathing deep and slow, with a masterpiece of criminal art covering his entire back. Then the silence shattered. The ringtone cut through the room like a scream. Nellie jumped, her heart slamming against her ribs, and looked at the nightstand. Her phone was lighting up the dim room, vibrating violently against the mahogany surface. Caller ID, Jun-ho read. The blood drained from her face so fast it made her dizzy. She looked at the phone, buzzing with insistence. She looked at the man sleeping beside her, his face buried in the pillow, that dragon heaving with every breath. She looked back at the phone. Her trembling hand reached out and swiped answer. Jun-ho. Her voice was a cracked whisper, barely audible over the rushing sound of blood in her ears. Hey, babe. The voice on the other end was bright, clear, and unmistakably Jun-ho's. It was the voice of the man she had dated for 2 years, gentle, polished, safe. I'm so sorry I didn't call last night. The service on the flight was terrible, and then customs took forever. I just landed in Tokyo. Tokyo. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. The room spun. Tokyo, Nellie choked out, gripping the sheet against her chest. You're in Tokyo. Yes, I just got to the hotel, Jun-ho said, sounding confused by her tone. I told you I was flying out late last night for the merger meeting, remember? I sent you a text before I took off. Did you not get it? If Jun-ho was in Tokyo. Nellie slowly, terrifiedly, turned her head back to the bed. The man beside her groaned. The sound wasn't the soft, polite mumble Jun-ho made in his sleep. It was a rough, guttural sound, deep and heavy. He shifted, the sheets falling lower on his waist, revealing a jagged white scar running across his hip bone that she had never seen before. Nellie, Jun-ho's voice chirped in her ear 1,000,000 miles away. Are you there? You sound weird. Is everything okay? The man in the bed rolled over. Nellie stopped breathing. She couldn't move. She couldn't speak. She could only watch in paralyzed horror as the man opened his eyes. They were Jun-ho's eyes. The same shape, the same dark brown iris, the same heavy lashes. It was Jun-ho's nose, Jun-ho's jawline, Jun-ho's lips. It was the face she had kissed 1,000 times. But the expression was wrong. Jun-ho looked at her with adoration and softness. This man looked at her with a cold, predatory amusement. His eyes were sharp, alert instantly, void of any sleepiness. He saw the phone in her hand. He saw the terror on her face. And then a slow, lazy smirk spread across his lips, a smirk so arrogant and dangerous it made her stomach turn. He reached out, his hand wrapping around her wrist. His grip was iron, calloused and rough, nothing like Jun-ho's manicured hands. Tell him you had a good night, the man whispered. His voice was identical to Jun-ho's, but an octave lower, raspy with sleep and something darker. Don't be rude, Nellie. Nellie gasped, dropping the phone. It clattered onto the hardwood floor, but the call was still connected. She could hear Jun-ho's tinny voice yelling from the ground. Nellie, who is that? Is someone there? The man in the bed didn't let go of her wrist. He pulled her slightly closer, his dark eyes dancing with a cruel light. He nodded toward the phone on the floor, daring her. Nellie scrambled backward, ripping her wrist from his grip, tangling herself in the duvet as she fell off the other side of the bed. She grabbed the phone, her hands shaking so hard she almost dropped it again. Jun-ho, she stammered, backing away toward the door, clutching the sheet to her naked body like a shield. I have to go. I can't hear you. I'll call you back. Nellie, wait. What is going on? Who was? She ended the call. The silence that followed was heavier than the ringtone had been. Nellie stood with her back against the wardrobe, chest heaving, staring at the bed. The man sat up slowly. He didn't bother to cover himself. He stretched his arms over his head, the muscles in his chest and shoulders rippling, harder, denser muscle than Jun-ho had. He ran a hand through his hair, messing up the style, and looked at her. "So," he said, swinging his legs over the edge of the bed, "you figured it out." "Who are you?" Nellie whispered. "Where is Jun-ho? What did you do to him?" "I didn't do anything to him. He's in Tokyo closing a deal, boring stuff." The man stood up. He was naked, and he walked toward the bathroom with a casual, terrifying confidence as if she wasn't there, as if he hadn't just shattered her life. "I'm Do-Yun." Do-Yun, the name triggered a faint memory. Jun-ho had mentioned a brother once years ago, a twin. He had spoken the name with disdain, calling him the black sheep, the mistake, the one the family didn't talk about. Nellie had assumed he was estranged, living overseas, irrelevant. "You're his brother," she said, the realization making her nauseous. "You, oh my God." "Twin brother," Do-Yun corrected, grabbing a black silk robe from the hook on the door. He slid it on, covering the dragon, but the V of the neckline still showed the hard lines of his chest. He leaned against the doorframe, crossing his arms. "Identical, obviously, though I like to think I wear the face better." "You raped me." The words came out as a sob. Do-Yun's smirk vanished. His face went hard, the temperature in the room dropping 10 degrees. "Careful with that word," he warned, his voice low and dangerous. "I didn't break in here, Nellie. You did. I didn't crawl into your bed. You crawled into mine." "I thought you were him." "Did you?" He pushed off the doorframe and walked toward her. Nellie shrank back, but there was nowhere to go. He stopped 2 feet away, invading her space, smelling of musk and expensive sandalwood, so different from Jun-ho's citrus cologne. "Think back to last night, Nellie. Really think." The memory hit her like a physical blow. Flashback to 12 hours ago. She had used her emergency key to let herself into the penthouse. She wanted to surprise Jun-ho before his trip. The apartment had been pitch black, the heavy velvet curtains drawn tight against the Seoul skyline. The air conditioning was set to freezing. She had seen a silhouette standing on the balcony, staring out at the rain. "Jun-ho," she had called out softly. He hadn't turned around. He hadn't spoken. She had walked up behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist. He had stiffened under her touch, tense, coiled like a spring. She had thought it was stress. She had thought he was worried about the merger. She had run her hands up his chest, feeling the hard muscle through his dress shirt. She had kissed his shoulder blade. "Come to bed," she had whispered. "Let me help you relax." He had turned around then. In the dark, she couldn't see his eyes, only the outline of his face. He had grabbed her hands, stopping her. His grip had been strong, almost painful. "You should go," he had said. His voice was rough, barely a whisper. "Don't push me away," she had replied, thinking he was being his usual stoic self. She had reached up, pulling his head down to hers, kissing him. He hadn't kissed her back at first. He had stood there, rigid. But then something had snapped. A low growl had vibrated in his chest. He had slammed her against the balcony glass, his mouth devouring hers with a hunger that Jun-ho had never shown. Jun-ho was gentle. He asked for permission. He made love with the lights on and soft music playing. This man had picked her up, carried her to the bed in the dark, and taken her with a desperation that bordered on violence. He hadn't taken his shirt off. He hadn't let her touch his back. He had just consumed her. And God help her, she had loved it. She had clawed at his shirt. She had screamed a name into the darkness. But she realized now, with a sick feeling in her gut, she hadn't screamed Jun-ho. She had just screamed yes. End flashback. Nellie looked up at Do-Yun, tears streaming down her face. "It was dark. You knew. You knew I thought you were him and you didn't stop me." "I told you to leave," Do-Yun said, his eyes dark. "I gave you a chance. You insisted. You said, 'Shut up and take me.' I'm a man, Nellie, not a saint like my brother. If a beautiful woman throws herself at me in my own house, I'm not going to write her a permission slip." "This is sick," she spat. "You're sick, does he know? Does Jun-ho know you're here?" "He knows I'm back in Seoul. He doesn't know I'm in his penthouse." Do-Yun shrugged. "I needed a place to crash while my place is being renovated. Jun-ho owes me a favor." "I'm going to tell him." Nellie pushed past him, grabbing her scattered clothes from the floor. Her hands were shaking so badly she couldn't clasp her bra. I'm going to call him right now and tell him everything. That you're a predator, that you tricked me. Go ahead. The calmness of his voice stopped her. She turned around, clutching her dress to her chest. Du-Yun was watching her, leaning against the dresser, looking bored. Call him, he challenged. Tell the golden boy that his girlfriend couldn't tell the difference between him and the monster. Tell him that you spent 3 hours in bed with his brother and didn't notice a thing until the sun came up. He took a step closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Tell him how you arched your back, Nellie. Tell him how you begged for it harder, because we both know Jun-Ho doesn't fuck you like that. Jun-Ho makes love, I fucked you, and you felt the difference. Nellie felt the blood rush to her face. Shame, hot and scorching, burned through her. He was right, she had felt the difference, and she hadn't stopped it, she had encouraged it. He'll kill you, she whispered weakly. Jun-Ho, Du-Yun laughed, a sharp barking sound. Jun-Ho couldn't kill a spider. He'd cry. He'd look at you with those big, hurt puppy eyes, and he'd ask how you could be so tainted, how you could let an animal like me touch you. He walked over to her, reaching out. She flinched, but he only picked up a strand of her hair, twirling it around his finger. He won't blame me, Nellie. He knows what I am. He'll blame you. He'll look at you and wonder why you liked it, and he'll never touch you the same way again. Nellie slapped his hand away. Don't touch me. Fine. Du-Yun held up his hands in mock surrender. Get dressed. Get out. Go back to your nice, safe life. Wait for Jun-Ho to come back with his duty-free chocolates and his missionary position. He walked past her toward the kitchen. But just so you know, he called back over his shoulder, if you tell him, you break his heart, not mine. I don't give a damn what Jun-Ho thinks of me, but you need him to think you're perfect. Nellie stood there in the wreckage of the morning. She looked at the bed, the tangled sheets, the scent of him still heavy in the air. She pulled her dress on, her fingers fumbling with the zipper. She grabbed her purse. She ran to the door. She fled the penthouse as if the devil himself was snapping at her heels. But as the elevator doors closed, shutting out the view of the luxury apartment, the terrifying truth settled in her chest. She wasn't running because she was scared of Du-Yun. She was running because the memory of his hands on her body was the most alive she had felt in 2 years, and that terrified her more than anything. 2 days passed in a blur of anxiety. Nellie couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep. Every time her phone buzzed, she jumped, expecting it to be Du-Yun mocking her or Jun-Ho accusing her. But the phone stayed silent, except for Jun-Ho's sweet check-in text from Tokyo. Miss you, babe. Can't wait to see you. Meeting went well. Buying you a gift. Every text felt like a knife twisting in her gut. She was a liar. She was a cheater. Even if it was a mistake, it felt like a betrayal. When Jun-Ho finally returned, Nellie met him at his office. She had spent hours in the mirror, practicing her smile, burying the secret deep down where it couldn't be seen. Nellie. Jun-Ho dropped his briefcase and opened his arms. He looked exactly like Du-Yun, the same height, the same face. But as she walked into his hug, everything felt different. His embrace was soft, safe. He smelled of citrus and starch. He kissed her on the cheek, then gently on the lips. It was sweet. It was respectful. And it made Nellie want to scream. I missed you so much, Jun-Ho said, pulling back to look at her. His eyes were warm, full of innocent affection. You look tired, babe. Have you been sleeping okay? Just work stress, Nellie lied, forcing a smile. I'm glad you're back. Me too. Tokyo was exhausting. He grabbed his briefcase. I have a surprise for you. My parents are throwing a charity gala tonight. I know, boring speeches, but I want you there. My brother is back in town and my father insists on a family reunion. It's going to be tense, and I need my support system. Nellie froze. Your brother? Yeah, Du-Yun, Jun-Ho sighed, rolling his eyes. He's a lot. He's been living in Macau, working with some unsavory people. He's the total opposite of me. You'll hate him. I don't think I can go tonight, Jun-Ho. I have a headache. Please, Jun-Ho took her hands. Giving her that puppy dog look Du-Yun had mocked. I really need you there. Do-Yun likes to provoke me, and having you there keeps me calm, just for an hour. Nellie looked at the man she loved, the man who was good and kind and safe. She couldn't say no without raising suspicion. She had to play the part. Okay, she whispered, for an hour. The gala was suffocating. It was held in the grand ballroom of the Shilla Hotel. Crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, men in tuxedos, women in gowns that cost more than Nellie's car. Nellie clung to Junho's arm like a lifeline. She wore a red dress that was modest but form-fitting, her hair pulled back in a sleek bun. She kept her eyes down, scanning the room, terrified of seeing him. Relax, Junho whispered, squeezing her hand. You look beautiful. Thanks. Oh, great, Junho muttered, his posture stiffening. Here he comes. Nellie looked up. Walking through the crowd, parting the sea of elites like a shark moving through a school of fish, was Do-Yun. He was wearing a tuxedo just like Junho, but where Junho looked elegant, Do-Yun looked dangerous. His tie was undone, hanging loose around his neck. His top button was unfastened. His hair was styled messily, defying the formality of the event. He walked with a swagger that was pure arrogance, and his eyes were locked straight on Nellie. Brother, Do-Yun said, stopping in front of them. He held a glass of whiskey in one hand. Do-Yun, Junho said stiffly, you made it, and you're already drinking. It's an open bar, Jun, don't be a prude. Do-Yun took a sip, his eyes never leaving Nellie's face. A slow, wicked smile curled his lips. And who is this? You finally brought a girl who didn't run away from boredom. This is Nellie, Junho said, putting a protective arm around her waist. My girlfriend, Nellie, this is Do-Yun. Nellie, Do-Yun purred. He extended his hand. Pleasure to meet you. Nellie stared at his hand, the same hand that had pinned her to the mattress, the same hand she had clawed in the dark. She had to touch him. If she didn't, Junho would wonder why. She reached out, her hand trembling. Do-Yun gripped her fingers. His skin was warm. He didn't shake her hand. He held it a second too long, his thumb brushing over her knuckles in a secret, intimate caress. Nice to meet you, she managed to choke out. The pleasure is all mine, Do-Yun said, his voice dripping with double meaning. Junho has good taste. I can see why he keeps you hidden. Behave, Do-Yun, Junho warned. I'm always on my best behavior. Do-Yun winked at Nellie. Right, Nellie. She felt like she couldn't breathe. I need to use the restroom. She pulled her hand away and turned, walking as fast as she could toward the exit without running. She needed air. She needed to escape. She pushed through the heavy doors into the hallway, leaning against the wall, gasping for breath. You run fast. She spun around. Do-Yun had followed her. He was standing by the door, swirling his whiskey, watching her. Leave me alone, she hissed. Stay away from me. Or what? You'll tell him. Do-Yun took a step closer. Go on. He's right inside. Go tell him that the man you just shook hands with is the same man who made you forget his name 3 nights ago. Why are you doing this? Nellie asked, tears of frustration welling up. You had your fun. Why are you torturing me? Because it's interesting, Do-Yun said, closing the distance. He trapped her against the wall, placing one hand next to her head. He wasn't touching her, but his heat engulfed her. Junho thinks you're this perfect, fragile porcelain doll. He treats you like glass. He leaned in, his lips inches from her ear. But I know the truth, Nellie. I know you like it rough. I know you have a fire in you that Junho would never know how to handle. He bores you. Admit it. He loves me, Nellie said, though her voice wavered. He respects me. He doesn't know you. Do-Yun pulled back, looking into her eyes. He loves the mask. I know what's underneath, and I think you miss it. I saw the way you looked at me in there. You weren't scared, Nellie. You were hungry. You're wrong. Am I? Do-Yun dropped his gaze to her lips, then back to her eyes. Prove it. Push me away. Nellie's hands were flat against his chest. She could feel his heart beating. She knew she should push him. She knew she should scream. But her hands didn't move. Her breath hitched. Do-Yun smirked. That's what I thought. He pushed off the wall, stepping back just as the ballroom doors opened. A group of people walked out, laughing. Do-Yun instantly shifted his demeanor, looking casual, unbothered. See you around, Nellie, he said loud enough for the others to hear. It was nice meeting you. He walked back into the party, leaving Nellie standing alone in the hallway, her heart hammering a traitorous rhythm against her ribs. Weeks passed. The secret became a rot in the center of Nellie's relationship. She tried to be happy with Jun-ho. She really did. But every time they were intimate, she found herself wishing he would grip her harder, wishing he would stop asking if she was okay and just take control. She found herself zoning out, staring at his back, looking for a dragon that wasn't there. And Do-yeon was everywhere. He showed up at Jun-ho's office. He showed up at the coffee shop near Nellie's work. He never said anything incriminating. He just watched her, smiled that knowing smile, reminded her that he existed. Then, the danger became real. It was a Tuesday night. Nellie was working late at her marketing firm. The office was empty. She packed up her bag and took the elevator down to the parking garage. It was deserted, the fluorescent lights flickering and buzzing. As she walked to her car, she heard footsteps, heavy, deliberate. She quickened her pace, clutching her keys between her fingers. Ms. Williams. She turned. 3 men stood behind her. They didn't look like muggers. They looked like professionals, suits, earpieces. Yes. We have a message for Mr. Jun-ho Han, the lead man said. He owes our employer a significant amount of money from a failed investment. He's not answering his phone. We thought maybe you could get his attention. I don't know what you're talking about, Nellie said, backing up. Please leave me alone. We can't do that. The men moved. Nellie scrambled to get her phone out, hitting the speed dial for Jun-ho. It rang once, twice. Hello, Jun-ho's voice. Jun-ho, help, Nellie screamed, dropping her keys as the men circled her. I'm in the parking garage at work. There are men here. They say you owe them money. They're going to take me. What? Jun-ho sounded panicked. Is it the guys from the venture group? Oh, God. Jun-ho, call the police. Come help me. I can't come there, Nellie, Jun-ho stammered. If I'm seen with them, it creates a link. It destroys the company's reputation. I can't be involved in a scandal right now. Nellie froze. One of the men grabbed her arm. You're not coming, she whispered into the phone. Lock yourself in the car, Jun-ho said, his voice shaking. Call security. I'll send my lawyer in the morning. Just don't tell them my name. He hung up. The line went dead. Nellie stared at the phone in disbelief. He had hung up. He was worried about a scandal. He was worried about his reputation. Grab her, the lead man ordered. Nellie screamed as rough hands grabbed her shoulders, dragging her toward a black van. She kicked, she fought, but they were too strong. Help, somebody help. Screeching tires echoed through the concrete garage. A matte black sports car roared around the corner, drifting sideways, smoke pouring from the tires. It slammed into the van, blocking the exit. The driver's door flew open. Do-yeon stepped out. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing a black leather jacket and jeans, and in his hand he held a tire iron. He didn't say a word. He didn't ask questions. He walked toward the men with a terrifying, silent rage. Who the hell is this? The lead thug shouted, pulling a knife. Do-yeon didn't stop. He swung the tire iron. Crack. The knife flew. The thug screamed, clutching a shattered wrist. Do-yeon moved like a whirlwind of violence. He was brutal, efficient. He took the second man out with a knee to the gut and a strike to the jaw. The third man, the one holding Nellie, let her go and tried to run. Do-yeon threw the tire iron. It hit the man in the back of the knees, sending him crashing to the concrete. Do-yeon walked over to him, grabbed him by the hair, and slammed his face into the hood of the van. Tell your boss, Do-yeon snarled, his voice echoing in the garage, that she is off limits. The debt is Jun-ho's. The girl is mine. If you look at her again, I will remove your eyes. He threw the man to the ground. Run. The men scrambled, limping and bleeding, piling into the van and peeling away. Do-yeon stood there in the silence, his chest heaving. He turned to Nellie. She was pressed against her car, shaking uncontrollably. He walked over to her. He didn't ask if she was okay. He grabbed her face in his hands, tilting her head up. His eyes were wild, dilated with adrenaline. "Did they touch you?" he demanded. "Did they hurt you?" "No," Nellie sobbed. "No, you came. Jun-ho didn't. It wasn't a question. He said he couldn't cause a scandal." "Coward," Do-yun spat. "He's a pathetic coward." He looked at her, his gaze dropping to her mouth. The adrenaline was rolling off him in waves, mixing with the pheromones of danger. He looked terrifying. He looked beautiful. "I told you," Do-yun whispered, his thumbs stroking her tear-stained cheeks. "I'm the monster, but monsters protect their own." Nellie looked at him. She thought about Jun-ho, safe in his office, worrying about his stock price. She thought about Do-yun, standing here with a tire iron, ready to kill for her. She didn't think. She didn't hesitate. She grabbed Do-yun's leather jacket and pulled him down. She kissed him. It wasn't a sweet kiss. It was desperate. It tasted of blood and fear and relief. Do-yun groaned, a low animal sound, and wrapped his arms around her, lifting her off the ground, crushing her against him. He kissed her back with a possession that claimed her soul. This time, she knew exactly who he was. And she didn't care. The fallout was nuclear. They didn't hear Jun-ho's car pull up. They didn't see him walk into the garage, phone in hand, looking for the scandal. "Nellie." The voice broke them apart. Do-yun set Nellie down, but he didn't step away. He kept his arm around her waist, shielding her. Jun-ho stood 20 feet away. He looked at the unconscious men on the floor. He looked at Do-yun. He looked at Nellie, whose lipstick was smeared, who was clinging to his brother. "What is this?" Jun-ho whispered. "You didn't come," Nellie said, her voice shaking but clear. "You left me here." "I called security," Jun-ho yelled, walking closer. "I was handling it, and I come here and find you, with him, kissing him." He looked at Nellie with pure disgust, his face twisted. "You let him touch you. After everything I told you about him. He's a criminal, Nellie. He's trash." "He saved me," Nellie screamed back. "He's the only reason I'm not in that van right now." "He's violent, look at him." Jun-ho pointed at Do-yun. "And look at you. You're enjoying it, aren't you? You like the drama, you like the filth." He laughed, a cold, cruel sound. "I thought you were a lady, Nellie. I thought you were classy. But clearly you belong in the gutter with him. If you slept with him, you're no better than a whore." The word hung in the air. Do-yun moved. He stepped forward, his fists clenched. But Nellie stopped him. She put a hand on Do-yun's chest. She walked up to Jun-ho. She looked him in the eye. And she slapped him. The sound echoed like a gunshot. "I made a mistake," Nellie said quietly. "I thought I loved you, but I only loved the idea of you. You're weak, Jun-ho. You're weak and you're selfish and you're small." She took a step back, moving to stand beside Do-yun. She took Do-yun's hand, interlacing their fingers. "He's a killer," Nellie said, looking at Do-yun. "But he's 10 times the man you'll ever be." Jun-ho held his cheek, staring at them in shock. "Get out! You're fired, you're done. Don't ever come near me again." "Gladly," Do-yun said. He opened the passenger door of his sports car. "Get in, Nellie." Nellie got in. She didn't look back at Jun-ho. Do-yun walked around to the driver's side. He paused, looking at his twin brother one last time. "You always wanted to be the king, Jun," Do-yun said, smirking. "Enjoy the castle. It gets lonely at the top." He got in the car. The engine roared to life. 1 month later. The sun was setting over the Han River. Nellie walked out of her new office building. She wasn't wearing the stiff beige suits Jun-ho liked anymore. She wore a black leather skirt and a fitted top, her hair loose and wild in the wind. A matte black car pulled up to the curb. The window rolled down. Do-yun sat in the driver's seat. He wore sunglasses, his arm resting on the door, the dragon tattoo on his forearm visible. "Hey, trouble," he grinned. "Get in." Nellie smiled. A real smile, not the polite, practiced smile she had worn for 2 years, a smile that reached her eyes. She got into the car, leaning over to kiss him. He tasted like smoke and danger and home. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Nowhere safe," Do-yun promised. "Regrets." Nellie looked at the scar on his neck. She thought about the perfect life she had lost, the money, the status, the safety. Then she looked at Du-Yun, who would burn the world down just to keep her warm. "Only one," Nellie whispered, tracing his jawline. "That I didn't walk into the wrong room sooner." Du-Yun laughed, revving the engine. "Hold on tight, babe."